everybody. Welcome back to the AI Talk Show. I personally enjoy coming to this talk show and talk really about data and AI. We've been talking about it, we hear about AI all the time, but how is it truly transforming our industry, reimagining our roles, and shaking up the way we work? We were having an earlier discussion in WLDA where we were talking about how it's going to impact people in their new roles. How would really the work will be distributed between the agents and the workforce? So truly, we are entering this era where things will be changing for all of us. And I have to share that as the CEO of World Leaders in Data and AI, I get an opportunity to hear firsthand these interesting stories about leaders taking opportunity of technology like AI, but also understanding how to rework, how to reshape. But the big advantage is that the companies are really looking at AI for thinking about how to be more productive and create growth within the organization. AI definitely promises a lot for sales and marketing functions. And I get to hear firsthand from the CEOs on how they're implementing AI to start from lead gen and retention and really be able to make an impact. The question is, can AI truly provide the value? And in the organizations who use AI effectively, I have personally met organizations who are actually taking advantage of building up their sales pipeline, building up effectively using AI in their marketing tools. So as we continue looking at how we're going to continue using AI and how we actually create impact within our organization, the first thing I have to say that when I look for inviting speakers, I look for unique value add. And I was so excited to have our guest here who actually not only works for large organization, but also create impact in the growth, sales and marketing organization. So today I'm going to spend a lot of time talking about AI and growth. How are we using AI in growth of organizations? How are we thinking about companies who are actually scaling using AI in a smart, effective way? How we are really using AI to make sure that we are continuously thinking about not only productivity, not only efficiency, but also growth. So I want to welcome my dear friend and also peer in WLDA. So I'm excited to welcome Rachel Richter here with us today. She has been in a large organization focusing on growth analytics, intelligence, and business processes. In her role, she's really focused on building organization and taking and connecting insights with execution. So I'm really excited, Rachel, to welcome you on this show and to have conversation about how AI can connect organizational growth and take the best impact and create really value out of this powerful technology. So welcome to the show and tell us a little bit about your background.
Yeah, of course. I'm an analytics and insights leader. I'm a little bit of an industry mutt in that I've worked across many industries, most recently healthcare. I've also spent time in information services, consumer packaged goods, and media. I think the thread across those organizations, as you said so nicely, is really the tie and the goal to deeply understand the market and the client, and then use that intelligence to fuel and increase the precision and effectiveness of the sales and marketing efforts of a company. So I've been doing that for 25 years now. I love what I do. And as we all know, the world is a changing place and there's so much more we can take advantage of. So I'm excited to talk to you today.
When we talk about growth, Rachel, we think about growth as a really core element of any organization. But when you hear the word growth in the context of AI today, what does that really mean to you? And how are companies starting to think differently about growth now than they did in the past, maybe just 5 years back?
Yeah. So the two words that come to mind when you say this are, to me, optimization and personalization. And they sound generic, but having been in this field for a long time, we've talked about these things for a long time, but we haven't been able to execute them at scale. And so I feel like we are at the point where two things that I think about, and we'll talk about this more later. One, sales and marketing are the true growth engines of a company, but I still don't see them operating as in sync and as at a personalized at a level that they could be with all the data and analytics they have to fuel what they're doing. So I think there's that, and I think there's the true kind of optimizing. I don't look at AI as much as, I know a lot of people think jobs, this, that.
Yeah.
I do think there's this wonderful, when I think about optimization, I don't think about cost cutting. I think about placing the human resources and on the most compelling problems. So I think when I think about optimization, it's, are we doing the right things when we think about where we're placing our marketing bets? Are the
Yeah.
marketing bets syncing with the sales plan and the sales targets? Are we thinking about the market, the client base, and in a discrete enough way to make it truly actionable? Because I still have seen marketing and sales operating in these very large cohorts, grouping clients, in large segments. And I think there's just this opportunity when we really think about growth, we can now unleash the power of everything we have and everything AI can offer. So I think it's a really exciting time.
Absolutely. And I think uh, the opportunity is truly there, but I feel like when companies are thinking about AI, they feel the pressure, but also the promise of AI. And I think that a lot of time the companies are confused because they're looking at AI that can do a lot. They see AI as something that can predict. It can help figure out which lead will convert next week, or writing personalized content at scale. I mean, I have a friend who has a company, and they have just created an agent on creating personalized content, and they've seen a tremendous growth within their organization because they're getting much better quality leads by creating an agent who actually understand and can personalize the content. And then it's flagging churn risk, or even before the customer complains. So really focusing on the customer service, which has been, and you hear a lot of use cases around that. McKinsey had this report, which I read recently, that said that AI-powered sales teams see up to 50% increase in leads and appointments. And I've seen in organizations who are using AI effectively to get that kind of benefit. But here's the thing, having tech is not enough. It's the magic in how it is used, right? It's the technology can only do so much for you, but how insights are turned into action. You can get the data, you can get the information, but you're not using it effectively. And that's why they say, you don't have to worry about losing your job if you know how to use technology effectively and adapt in real time. It's really a powerful tool for you to be able to make that change or shift. I remember one of this financial services company that used AI to realign its sales territory, not just by geography, but also opportunity size or behavior or past deal velocity. So I think it's about people in the organization, how they're using this tool. So the shift didn't just, it's not just to improve close rate, it's transforming the way sales teams are working. And I think that's the magic, is how you're using this tool. Yeah. So here's my question to you. You've led analytics and growth strategies at some of the most data-driven organizations. Where have you seen AI make the biggest impact in sales and marketing?
Yeah. So I'm going to break this down, Asha. It's a wonderful question. And I'm going to break it down a little bit to what I've seen and three things that I think about all the time that I want to do next with AI and sales and marketing. And I think we're basically there. But when I think about what to a couple of the examples you just hit on, where I've seen it effectively employed. So I could probably name 12, but let's focus on like 5 or 6 use cases. So lead scoring and routing. And I think that's important. A lot of people talk about lead scoring, but I've had some really, and we'll go deeper later, but lead scoring around routing. So one, what's most likely to convert, and really not just looking at propensity to buy, but also those intent signals and trends in the market and everything else. So what are those hot leads? But also, how do you connect those leads to the right human at the right time? And I think that's where to your point, agents can do a lot of things, but when and if maybe it's a very simple lead and it can, go through an agent and never touch a human, or you use this scoring and routing mechanism, and I've seen it really employed to route some, what I would call a whale coming in through a website, right? That you're able to say, this is too big. This could turn into our next strategic client. Like, we need to work this differently. So lead scoring and routing is a big one. To your point, predictive analytics, that's still needed in this world. It's not going anywhere, but, and I've seen so much success, to your point, predicting churn, predicting cross-sell, upsell, lifetime value, all of these elements. And I think the next lever of that is then, how do you better execute on the predictive analytics end to end using the agents, right? But I do think predictive analytics continues to remain really important in the world of sales and marketing. And then I couple that with segmentation. And I think segmentation I've seen used incredibly well to get to more discrete groups, back to what I was talking about earlier, to fuel personalization and precision. So if you don't have a really good dynamic segmentation engine and look at your client base and look at your market, I mean, I've been at companies where there were some markets that were so underpenetrated that until we built a really, I would say, an engine almost driven segmentation methodology, there was a lack of awareness that there was so much growth potential in certain very discrete markets, whether it be healthcare or information services or media. So that's often great for personalized targeting. And then, like we talked about, personalization. So whether it's campaign personalization or website personalization, right?
Yeah.
Or in the SEO world, like, the AI can really fuel that. What used to be called account-based marketing, I think the term's still being used, but it's like that truly specific, Asha, Rachel, I know about you, you know about me, this is how we're going to interact. And then one of the ones I've been playing around with recently was sales forecasting. And I think there's a lot that AI can do. There's a lot of good tools out there. There's still a very heavy reliance on the human for forecasting, for sales forecasting. It really depends on the sales leader, and the sales leaders, sometimes they're optimistic and sometimes they're sandbagging, right? And you really need to bring in the AI to have a better way to plan, build quotas, build targets. I think there's something that needs to continue to get pursued in sales forecasting. And then I think marketing attribution will continue, because you have to continue to understand what are the most effective touch points, how do you measure them, how do you optimize them, how do you demonstrate the ROI, right? Because there is always the argument of, marketing didn't send me enough leads, I can't make my plan, right? That kind of thing. All right, so here are the three things I want to see that I think about all the time. The administrative burden on sales is still way too high. And it is something that has eaten at me for a decade now. I mean, sales can spend upward of 70% of their time on researching a customer, coaching, building a pitch deck, entering stuff in the CRM, looking at a dashboard. Like, in the era we're in now, it's almost unacceptable if you think about it. So I do think, whether it's having that companion agent, doing more with AI inside a tool like Salesforce, like, how do we take that? Because where sales is the most valuable, as we all know, is interfacing with their clients.
Yes.
So how do we take the back end work away from them and minimize that administrative time? So that's one problem and use case I want to continue to think about. And then the second one I think about all the time is, how can we get this super synchronized, super personalized sales and marketing engine going, where you've got a salesperson, you've got a marketing campaign, you may have a sales agent, you may have a marketing agent, and they are literally working along the customer journey. They might be at the same time working with one customer on selling something new and mitigating a risk of attrition on something else they're buying, and creating these personalized touches back and forth in a very synchronized way. Like, that really excites me, and I know it's almost there. And then the one that I'm on the verge of, more so just waiting approvals and thinking about different things in the space, is generative BI. So, like, how do we create a more intuitive dashboard experience, right? Where somebody is engaging and not just presented, here's your chart, what's your question? What's the answer? And then can that create some targeted downstream action based on kind of what that person learns? I think that's a really exciting area too in the sales and marketing, and even more than the sales and marketing world. So those are the things on my mind, Asha. How about you? Are there any things
as I tell you, as a CEO, all that is music to my ears, because I know I struggle with a team, and the sales operation becomes a roadblock for my sales team, or if the marketing and sales is constantly throwing the ball at each other, blaming that there's not enough leads, or we can't do the close because we don't have enough data. The dashboard example, oh my God, I tell you, I sit in the board meetings and I get these dashboard which don't make sense to me,
Exactly.
because we are not answering the important questions, and you
Nope.
can't change, like you're in a board meeting, you're trying to make a decision,
They
and you
have to
get
be
this data
flexible.
which is making
Yes.
no sense at all. So
Mm-hmm.
it makes so much sense that if we can effectively, somebody said, what AI can do, now that AI is going to be a smart accountant for you or a smart
Yeah.
marketer for you, what do you do? And I always say that it is about the problem you are solving. We as humans have to upgrade ourselves to be able to understand what problem we are solving and how we are solving that problem, because we have tools available to give us the information. Now it's taking that information and into action which becomes really critical.
Correct.
I still remember talking to a CMO last year who said AI is the intern that never sleeps, except it knows
I
our
love that.
customers better than we do. And I
Yeah.
thought that was really good,
Okay.
because as we are seeing AI shift from buzzword to, can we call it a backbone? Just automation to personalized experience. I mean, I'm really excited about the personalized experiences, because when I am talking to airline AI agent, I wanted to know information about me, so I don't feel like I'm going in a loop. So
Yeah.
it's really about the real time customer segmentation for my business, or what is the next best action engine that we're talking about, or the dynamic pricing strategies for my customers. So AI is clearly helping in marketing ops or sales operations, but it's really about the outcome. And I think now with this technology, we can really focus on not just the analytics, but the growth or the outcome that, or the benefit, right, for the organization that we can see. What I'm curious is that you gave some really great examples, but if you had to like pick one, the biggest impact in sales and marketing, where have you seen AI make the biggest impact, and anything that standout moment where you say, this is it, this is where AI proves its worth? What
Yeah.
would that be?
Well, I will give you one. I'll give you my favorite one, but I'm going
Okay.
to give you a couple supportive ones as well, because I
Okay.
think for our listeners, and I'm sure you'll agree, Asha, it's like we can talk theory and what we think should be applied, but when they hear business examples, I think sometimes, at least for me, that's like and I know for you, that's some of the
Yeah.
most helpful thing, and things anyone can hear. So I love to talk about this one specifically. One, because selfishly, it's one of my proudest moments of my career, honestly. But beyond that, as you were talking, Asha, it made me think about the other thing with AI is it lets us stretch our resources so much further. So I am extremely passionate about customer retention, customer experience, customer loyalty. And every company I've been at, the analytics prove, right? The more loyal a customer, like if they're a promoter, they're giving you nines and tens, or they're going to spend more with you by nature. It is going to be easier to retain them and easier to cross sell and upsell them. But almost no marketing resources are spent on what used to be called retention marketing. I don't even like that word, but like marketing is so under resourced in certain ways. And when they are resourced, they're trying to drive leads to help growth, right? And what happens is that you get the leaky funnel syndrome, where then you're selling new things and your current customers are dropping. And then in the end, you're not growing because of that. So one of the companies I came into, my assignment from the CEO was, we're closing pipeline left and right, Rachel. He's like, I don't have a new business problem. I'm getting new logos. I'm doing cross sell, upsell. My attrition, client and product attrition, so clients that are leaving completely,
Yeah.
dropping or dropping products, is through the roof. And because of it, no one's feeling the growth on the new business side. So I need you to go figure out how you're going to fix my attrition problem. And I
Mm.
was like, he goes, data and analytics. You're going to have to build kind of a cross-functional, because everyone has to touch this thing. So long story short, analytics was a huge part of it, right? Like
Yeah.
we built some really amazing ML models that, were for the account manager that has 100 accounts,
Yeah.
signaling to them, hey, this customer just got bought, or they're searching competitors online, or they haven't been in their product for, 90 days or whatever the flag is, right? And churn through an immense amount of data. And we were able to kind of build that workflow, educate our account management team, and actually build triggers that they had to then review and activate on, right? So like we built ourselves an end-to-end systemic way to basically say model triggers X, account manager says yes or no, they're not. I mean, they can deny the model and say they're not at risk, but guess what? Sometimes they deny the model and the customer leaves. Well, that's a problem. They
Mhm.
deny the model and the customer stays great. So it gave us this like closed loop feedback realm. And it also gave us an incremental millions of dollars, hundreds of millions of dollars of risk identified that the
Yeah.
account management team didn't see. And then
Mm.
they could go work it and capture it and blah, blah.
I
So,
love that.
so it was cross-functional. He told me, the CEO, when I came in, he wanted 3 to 4 points reduction in attrition. Obviously, that's good, right? Because it's attrition.
Yeah.
You're talking 40, 50 million a point. So we're talking hundreds of millions of dollars. And I had to get finance, account management, client service, right? Like everyone has to be on board in these kind of the GMs of every business, because sometimes
Yeah.
it's a product problem, right? And so we ended up writing a board paper. We achieved this end to end. We needed workflow, we needed technology, we needed the whole thing.
That's
But in
amazing.
the end, we got to about 4 point reduction in 3 years, wrote a board paper on it. Great story to tell. The other things I'll just highlight super fast if we have the time. One, I was involved in a very cool account-based marketing initiative where we went really deep and really personalized sales and marketing, holding hands on 150 accounts, fueled by analytics and models, and then built and this was even before AI got super big, so I know it could be even better now.
Yeah.
Built very personalized forums, materials, campaigns, website, all these things. And we were able to increase win rate. Again, we looked at a couple of baselines by 15%. And I
That's
mean,
amazing.
you're thinking like, say it was a 25% win rate goes to 40%. That's meaningful dollars. So
That
that
really.
was one I loved. Like I told you, the lead scoring and routing, we tripled our lead conversion by using our propensity and demand estimators to basically say, we're not routing these leads to inside sales. They're too big. This is
Yeah.
a $500,000 potential client. They're going to national, they're going to field. So that was another one. And then one example in the Gen AI world I'll throw out there because I think it's really cool. I didn't
Mhm.
own this. I saw it happen and it drove a lot of impact. Started using Gen AI for RFP responses at one of the companies I worked on for the really simple ones or the ones we didn't think we were going to win. And we used the Gen AI platform within our RFP tool. And we were able to kind of immensely improve one kind of RFP selection, RFP submission, and to your earlier point, Asha, preserving the time of our people for the really, really complex RFPs, not the
Yeah.
basic things that are talk. I love talking about it. And I think the most important thing as we think about AI is tying yourself to something that matters to your company, right? Like, so for me,
So true.
I got the attention of the CEO because he had an attrition problem. And guess what? After I finished that, I went on to the next problem and he wanted me to solve all kinds of cool things for them because I solved something that meant something to him, that he cared about. And I had leading and lagging measures. I had the risk mitigated that eventually turned into hitting our attrition numbers. But you have to have that kind of funnel of KPIs along the way, ultimately tied to probably a lagging sort of business or strategic objective that the company cares about. That's what's going to get you the attention for the AI initiative.
I have to say bingo there. I had to say that's what this is gospel, what you just
Yeah,
shared. I
yeah.
think no matter if you're in data, in your AI, you're in marketing, sales, does not matter what functional area you are in. If you're not solving a problem that your senior executive cares about, you're not going to get the budget. So then when you talk about budget issues, the problem is you're not solving the problem that matters to the company. A lot of time, I think, like Rachel, what happens is the leaders are so close to the technology, and especially the technology leaders, they get so attached to the technology that they're worried about what they think is important for the company, not
Yes.
so much what
Or
the
a pet
executive wants.
project that they want to do because it sounds cool. I've
Yes.
seen that happen too. And I do not sit in technology and I love technology, but I will say this Usha, to your point, one specific time I had technology go off, create something they thought would be valuable to sales and sales ups, come back to me. And I was like, who asked you to build this? They were
Yeah.
like, oh, we thought it was cool. And it was there was no use case, there was no real need, and there was no business objective, to your point, and it all ended up being wasted time. So it goes back to also the business objective, but don't do things in silos. I know it's
Exactly.
tempting because sometimes it's easier, but the whole reason any of these initiatives were successful is I was an open book, and I told everyone about it, and I brought in anyone I needed, and I brought in anyone that wanted to be a part of it, even if I didn't think I needed them, because in the end, they're going to be an advocate for you and help you go further the next time, you
So
know?
I have to announce this is a LinkedIn Live, so you guys might not be able to go back right now, but I want you to go back to this episode after this LinkedIn is over and go back to this question, because I truly believe, Rachel, what you said about not working in silo, bringing everybody along, aligning your projects to what executives' needs are, to your business needs are, not just what you think is important. It's so, so critical, so critical.
Yeah.
I want to go back to the budget question, because I think a lot of the business leaders and tech leaders struggle with not having the budget when they're working after or going after solving a problem. We are in an era now, I have to say, that where ROI is not just about the budget, though. It's about speed, precision, and scale. So when we think about AI, what AI can help you, that's where I do believe the AI can come and help you. So so the big concern for a lot of leaders is budget. So when you think about the budget, we're in the era where ROI isn't about just the budget, it's about the speed, precision, and scale. And that's where AI steps in. I've seen companies pour millions of dollars in marketing effort, and they're worried because they're not getting the returns. But when you think about AI,
Yeah.
are we and we're talking about maybe hyper targeting campaigns or real time personalization, sales cycles that can shrink from months to week. I think that's where the value comes in when we think about AI. And that's where companies like Gartner or McKinsey, when they're reporting, they're talking about AI. The companies who are using AI in marketing can see up to 25% increase in campaign performance metrics. But these numbers are not only the numbers, it's telling you a story. It's telling you that really, when you're thinking about your customer and you're laser focusing on what their needs are and understanding what their behavior is, you can perform better. So when I'm curious about your background, and as you're building these initiatives, uh, have you been part of something that you've seen closely where AI has made a significant impact on marketing ROI or sales performance?
Yeah, I mean, yes, I think a couple of these examples we talked about, right? I
Yeah.
do believe it comes down to kind of laying out, right? What are we trying to do and what's the commitment I'm going to make? And this is what I would say about some of the AI pieces. There are times when I have seen it be, I'm going to use this tool to reduce costs, whether the cost be
Mm,
human or tech capital, right? And streamlining different things. And I've seen business cases get approved sometimes more easily, I think, early on the taking out costs, simplifying tech stack, whatever it may be, right? But I have also seen, and I think it's important that we continue to push on now, let's be honest here. So,
yeah.
what I've also seen on the marketing standpoint specifically is nobody is going to fund you to hit your target, right?
Yeah.
Like, so I mean, even in a tough year, if the business case is I need X or I need Y because it's a tough year, and then what are you going to deliver to me? Well, I'm going to hit my plan. I'm going to hit my
Yeah.
leads. I'm going to hit no one's going to buy it, right? So I think, unfortunately or unfortunately, we have to push ourselves to say, the AI is out there and it can help us do more. So to your point, Asha, like it's right, it's got to
How do we
go,
use it?
even if it's a lagging indicator, what's the interim? Is it more leads? Is it more pipeline? I know a lot of companies, and I've seen this directly, sometimes it's average deal size because you're going to
Yeah.
identify and you're going to pull through. So if your win rate remains at 25%, but your average deal size has gone from 500,000 to a million, that's going to be right? So it's really thinking about one, what's something interesting? And then I've always worked with my finance partners to help me model these things. And I actually think it brings a lot of credibility to these business cases. And then I've always held myself accountable, but I think it's important also that you think about ahead of time what could go wrong or why might you not hit, right? So let's say your point, speed to market, Asha, like you can't get it out there in time. So, hey, I need 6 more months to hit this. So in your business case, you have to be very specific. I need to be able to launch by Y. I need resource X, assumptions B, because the truth is we all do need to kind of protect ourselves a little bit. And this, I don't mean this in a negative way, but
Yeah.
I mean, this is a changing world. And I've also heard of companies where they're launching almost not competitive, but they're not coordinating their AI initiatives, and then actually one takes away from the impact of the other. So there's just a lot of things that need to be thought of when you're building your business case, when you're measuring. And I also say some of the most important things you do are like, what are the metrics in your control? If you're building a new analytics or you're launching a platform to do X, make sure you deliver the things that you own, and the things that come down, make sure you've documented the dependencies to like that come later. Make
Yeah.
sure you document the dependencies to doing those right, because there are ways to get more time or to get more budget if you miss scope. My other thing that I'm always really big on, and I know you are too, Asha, is like, I don't try to do everything at once with a specific use case. Like
Yeah.
if I'm testing something, I will work on either a specific segment, a specific sales channel, a specific geography. Sometimes I just align myself to a GM who has a product problem that's a big advocate of analytics and AI, and we test. And then it snowballs from there, right? So I also just think don't boil, I mean, people tell you don't boil the ocean, but
Yeah.
it's true. You're going to get funded if you can deliver something precise, even if it's not the be all end all of everything across the company.
A lot of great points, and I'm gonna echo the whole collaboration, finding a stakeholder who cares. And I love that you found somebody, a GM, who cared about the outcome and partnered with you truly. Tools are tools. When you're thinking about which AI tool, it's really how you really take that tool to give the output to that GM or to that partner. And can you really create those small wins? We were at the WLDA meetup yesterday, and we were talking about uh, tech usually is a cost center. But when you use a technology effectively to create value and create small wins, people then will give you the budget to continue on that and create the momentum to show the scale. So I love the idea of starting small and taking a little piece where you can actually, don't boil the ocean, take a little piece and create the win. But the big thing which I see when I'm working with companies, when I'm either working with the management teams, and we're doing these workshops around what are your priorities and what are you thinking about your use cases are, and how do you evaluate your AI use cases, and which one would really make an impact in growth and marketing. uh, how we I focus is really thinking about the small wins and the long term wins. You cannot take your eye off on what is strategic long term wins you're going to have, or what is the roadmap, but also thinking about your small quick wins. The quick win could
Mhm.
be creating an agent for content generation for SEO purpose. That could be a quick win. Or let's look at the leads and just make sure that we can pick which are the ones which could close first. So
Yeah.
really taking one or two use cases and showing the success becomes really, really important. But really thinking about, can I use a framework? In my book, The AI Factor, I talk about the power quadrant. Where do you want to really focus on? Are you will focus on being an optimizer, taking a sales process or marketing process and optimizing it, or you want to be an innovator, and say, I'm going to be innovative about how I reach out to my customers. So really thinking about which quadrant do you fall in, and prioritizing your use cases for quick wins and long-term strategy.
I totally agree. And when we did the session, Asha, like at the time, based on where I was, the up to your point, the optimizer totally spoke to me. I
Yeah.
think there's just, I mean, at a super high level, and I hope you know, like I
Yeah.
live by your framework, you know this.
Yes.
But when I think about it, I think it goes back to what we just talked about. What are the big business objectives? What's going to have the most impact, right, to achieving those? And then I also think every every person needs to look internally to your own company. Do I have the data maturity? Am I going to have the resourcing? Do I have the technical acumen and or partnership that I need? Speed to value. And I absolutely agree with you. I I we got started in some of the quick wins. And then I think to kind of prove that it could work, as we were starting to look at what would be some of those kind of higher effort, but higher
Yes.
impact, higher value tying to the business outcomes. And I think eventually, to your point, you do want to start to mix and have a portfolio of things that are going to come to fruition over time. So you almost have this like treadmill, like you're almost running forward and showing different types of things that can produce different types of value. And then, I'll continue to say what I said before, which is one, the test and learn is super important. Prove it, document, make sure you understand what's in your control. And two, bring in your cross-functional partners. And then I think if you have all those things, and everything you've laid out, Asha, like that's the best way to get started. And advocacy and support, from the executives and the leadership, and depending on how deep that advocacy is, to your point, sometimes you have to start small and snowball, and sometimes there'll be interest in taking on a few things at once and going from there. So either way, don't wait. It would be my
Right.
advice. Like
Love
there's
it.
no opportunity to sit around doing nothing. And for those of us in the field that we are in, I would also say like influencing skills are at a high right now. Like we have to not be behind the scenes. We have to be showing the value and importance and moving people towards that advocacy and adoption, because we need those executives on board with us.
What a great point to end this segment. I think if the listeners didn't take anything else, take those 3 points, make sure you learn and refine your skills on influencing within your organization, because that will become a very critical skill in addition to being curious and be able to solve good problems. I think great conversation, Rachel. I can go on for another hour talking to you and kind of dig deeper into all different things that's possible. But really, I think it's our LinkedIn community that hopefully can take few tidbits and be able to make a difference in wherever they are. Great conversation. Thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate it.
Awesome. Thanks for having me, Asha. Thanks,
And
everyone.
and just for the audience, I have to say, from predictive sales intelligence or analytics to AI powered personalization, we're entering a new world. AI is not just about efficiency; it's about unlocking entirely new dimensions of growth. So go out there and make sure that you take chances. Don't sit back, as Rachel, you said, jump in and be able to create something which your company cares about. It's clear when we apply AI with intention, clarity, and the right data foundation. We can never forget about the data. We are not just optimizing pipelines, we are reimagining what's possible for modern business. So to all of you who are listening, if you're thinking about how to activate AI in your own growth strategy, whether it's in marketing, analytics, or team collaboration, take a page from Rachel's playbook and make sure you start with the problem, stay close to the customer, make sure you bring along your stakeholders, use data as the creative guide. And again, Rachel, thank you so much for joining us and
Thanks for
sharing
having
your
me. It was a
insight.
pleasure, Asha. I love the conversation.
I love it. And we are going to meet again next week with more interesting conversation. In the meantime, feel free to join WILDA, WLDA.tech, for any news updates and what's going on with WILDA and our community. I love what we do within WILDA and how we engage with each other. Feel free to join us and start the conversation. I think it's about learning from each other, learning from your peers, and make sure you continue making this world a better place. Let's make the world a fair digital world with parity and equity, as we say in WILDA. Thank you so much.